live. Let's give it a few minutes. Let's wait to see who joins. Very sorry for being a couple minutes late. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear it. And let's give it a few moments. There are some things I was hoping to talk about today. There is some interesting developments in the Middle East. I do wonder, and obviously a lot of people are going to say this is a relatively unimportant or small thing in the big scheme of things, but it does make me think, will we see possibly a return of Freemasonry at some point in the Middle East, maybe in the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years in Iran directly, not simply with the Grand Lodge of Iran in exile, in Saudi Arabia, etc., etc. I don't know. The 14-point memorandum of understanding, which I believe was leaked, but from what I understand, seems to be fairly accurate. I mean, maybe it sets up certain frameworks that will help the return of civic institutions like Freemasonry into Iran. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I think it's interesting. As somebody who loves Freemasonry, whatever you say, thank you so much. I think it's kind of cool. Also, I wanted to thank everybody again for a new record set in terms of the numbers of watch time, number of watch hours, and views. A couple of days ago, I managed to get that record without doing a 24-hour stream. So let's keep our fingers crossed. It means the channel is continuing to grow, and maybe I'll do another 24-hour marathon to celebrate that success and to continue the channel's growth. For the time being, though, let's wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe, and let's chat about Freemasonry. We do have some cool things coming up as well in Windsor itself. I love Windsor. I've said it before. I think it's the greatest. It's an incredible city. I'm proud to call it my home. But that got me thinking, I want to make sure to celebrate some of what we have coming up in this city. And maybe some of the things that we in Freemasonry can be involved in as well, I think would be kind of cool. For the time being, let's wait to see who joins. Let me create a poll question. And I say return to Iran because there was Freemasonry within Iran for many years. So up until 1979, if I'm getting the date of the revolution correct, yes, HZIL, Jesus was Jewish. I don't think that's a controversial opinion. Keeping in mind, though, this is not a channel to talk about religious beliefs. This is a channel to talk about Freemasonry. I saw that United Grand Lodge of England posted something noting that game and wishing best of luck to England. I mean, I don't really have a dog in the fight. I'm not a huge follower of soccer, but nonetheless, I will cheer for England as well, of course. So let's go England. Sorry, Croatia, nothing personal. I'm just cheering for England in this case. 4 votes, 2 yeses, 2 nos. To the people who are saying yes, I'm curious about the optimism. I will say, there is, as I noted before, the Grand Lodge of Iran in exile, presently meeting out of Los Angeles, if I recall correctly. But it would be great to see Iran be able to have, or it's great to see Freemasonry able to have meetings in Iran once again. In Iran proper. Not simply having Freemasons there, but actual proper organization. I think it would be really cool. But we wait to see who joins. So please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts on Freemasonry? I'd love to hear them. The first 60 minutes, we just hang out and chat. The second 60 minutes is when I go into my specific talking points. So let's see what you guys have to talk about. And don't forget, hit the like and subscribe button when you get the chance. Thank you for the star. JG, good afternoon to you as well. How's it going? I hope that your day is treating you well. Hello from Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Captain Miscreant. Hello, North Carolina. I have never been to North Carolina. Very sad to say. I wish I had visited before because there's a lot of cool Masonic history there. So believe me, it's on my list of places I want to visit. I'm doing well, Sharma. How are you? Captain Miscreant, are you a Freemason? You interested in Freemasonry? There's a lot of Masonic history in the military. I'm sure you're aware. There's a lot of Masonic lodges that meet on military bases, especially in the Middle East. I need to rehearse the three lesser lights and three dangers. I will give you, I'm from Canada. I will give you my generalized tips on memorization within ritual. Keep in mind my ritual is emulation, but it's all memorization work. Is the most important thing is after you've read something, while you're trying to memorize it, take a few moments to try and think as much as you possibly can about what those words mean to you. In fact, when I was ever helping people memorize, what I would always ask them is after they, read out a sentence, I would ask them to tell me what that sentence meant to them and how they viewed it, how they interpreted it. You might get three or four different answers from three or four different people, that's fine. But if you don't have an understanding of what the words mean to you, you're going to have a hard time properly memorizing it. So just always try to reframe things in, whatever it means to you. Work with somebody else, work with a mentor, and just practice. And that's my best advice. Okay, Captain Miscreant. Well, we don't usually let miscreants into Freemasonry, but you might be the exception. I'm glad you're here. The best way to start the process of becoming a Freemason is to find a Masonic lodge in your area. There's a bunch in North Carolina. Approach them and express your interest in joining. Please drink a sip of water. I just drank some coffee, but you know what? I'm always telling people to be healthy, so here's my water. Everybody starts at the same level, which is entered apprentice. So that's it. That's where it ends. If anybody tells you they will get you started at a high level, it's a scam. So, well, Iran banned Masonry after the revolution, which was in 1979, I think. I don't know the official reason that they gave, but in my experience, theocracies, theocratic governments, tend not to be fans of Freemasonry. You see it throughout the Middle East, primarily because, in my experience, you saw this in Nazi Germany, you saw this all over the place, with communist countries as well. Freemasonry is about civic engagement, civic involvement. It's about two, people connecting to each other through a community level, whereas within a totalitarian theocratic regime, it's all about the relationship between the individual and the state, and not those otherwise community connections. Plus, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about Freemasonry. The government may have believed it as well. Yeah, but what I find, Dad, is that's even more of a reason to keep memorization and keep practicing the older you get. It's kind of like exercise and movement. Once it starts getting harder, that's probably a sign that you need to start doing more of it. You got to keep the body in shape and the brain in shape. Um, what is the highest level attainable? The third degree, Master Mason degree. That's the highest degree you can get. Now, there are different offices, of course. that you can look at getting. The highest office would be the Grand Master of a jurisdiction. However, keep in mind, there is no office above that, and there is no singular Grand Master. So the Grand Master in Ontario is the highest office in Ontario. However, he is no higher of a rank than the Grand Master in Manitoba or the Grand Master in Texas. Iran is not a communist country to my knowledge. I don't actually know what their economic system would be, but it is, to my understanding, a theocratic nation, and theocracies are another group that tend to have the same kind of view of civil relationships being the most important relationship, more so than civic. Hello, ID1 Kenobi. Thank you for being here. Sarsentia, greetings. Frank 4 Castle, Frank 45 Castle. I was in the 10 MTN. I don't know what the 10 MTN stands for. I am handsome. 82nd AB high speed cap. Not sure what that means. Are those military designations? Frank 45 Castle. By the way, everybody here, please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, let me know. 16 votes. Yes is slightly ahead of no. Is pork allowed? I mean, I would assume not, because I would assume not as a dietary dish, because Iran is a Muslim country and pork is not allowed to be eaten. I don't know. Maybe it's possible for tourists and stuff, or I don't know. I don't know if those dietary laws are enforced at the state level. I'm not sure. Yes, they're both infantry units in the U.S. Army. Well, nothing but respect to you for being in the U.S. Army, whether it be infantry or just military service in general, whatever the group you are in or the division you are in. You're a lot tougher and a lot stronger than I am, and that goes for anybody in any military. I don't care whether it's American, Canadian, or around the world. Nothing but respect to our military veterans. Thank you for being here, Frank 45 Castle. I've said this before, early on in Masonic history, right? The way that Freemasonry very often made its way to different parts of the world was through military encampments. Like the very first Masonic lodge in India was on a military base outside of Calcutta. And you still see that in the Middle East, excuse me, where you have many Masonic lodges that exist in military bases in Kuwait, in Doha, in Dubai, in UAE. So it is kind of interesting how the more things change, the more things stay the same. Still, Frank, whether you are in now or in 45 years ago, or sorry, 15 years ago, still nothing but respect to you. I hope you'll take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button. I would really, really appreciate it. And thank you so much for being here. Well, the military are not mostly Masons, but there is a good percentage of military members who are Freemasons. I mean, I've heard different numbers. In World War I and World War II, it was about 10 to 15% of soldiers fighting in World War I and World War II were Freemasons. They didn't set up military or Masonic lodges as much because they weren't occupying, right? They weren't there for years and years or decades and decades. They were constantly moving to try to defeat the enemy. It's a little bit different than having a standing military base in an allied country, or at least a theoretically allied country. Early on in American history, there was as many as 40% of the army were Freemasons. But primarily, it's just because it's not that there was a lot or mostly Masons, but there's a sufficient number that it would make sense to try to hold Masonic meetings while traveling and while on a military base. Also, like in India, for example, the Masonic Lodge started on a military base outside of Calcutta, but it was not itself a military lodge. It was actually traders from the East India Trading Company. Very often, and you see this throughout history, when you have a military base, very often you have a whole economic ecosystem that follows behind it. So, like, traders and businessmen, and in ancient times, ladies of the night would follow behind the main military and set up their own shops to sell goods and services to the military. Very often, you would see that, like you might have members of the East India Trading Company following behind a military base to make trades. And so that is how it kind of develops, if that made any sense. Socrates, you can ask me any question you want as a Socrates. As the Socrates, of course, you want to ask questions. I can't answer every question, but I'll do my best. J.W. Cloud, there are many homeless veterans, both in the United States and in Canada. I don't know the numbers, but I mean, anyone who's homeless, it's a tragedy. But if you're a veteran, I think there's an argument to be made that it's perhaps in some ways even more so a tragedy. Somebody asked me here, was Gandhi an Indian Mason? I don't know if Gandhi was a Mason or not. I never heard that he was, so I don't think so. Morton Grove, first of all, congratulations to you guys. I know you just celebrated your 100th anniversary or your 100th installation. I really wanted to be there, but I couldn't make it, which made me very sad because I am sure it was an absolutely incredible installation of officers. Morton Grove is without a doubt one of my favorite lodges in the world. I would love one day to get membership there. I'm kind of working on it because I think it'd be really cool. Congratulations, though, Mage Fong, Morton Grove. Everybody, if you live in, well, anywhere, but if you live in the Chicago area, including the northern suburbs, like Skokie, Forest Glen, Gulf, Glenview, obviously, Rosemont, whatever it might be, check out Morton Grove Lodge. They're a really cool spot. And if you're interested in being a Freemason, talk to Morton Grove. Yeah, well, that's my favorite part is the food. I really want to get there, but I had wrestling both days. I couldn't get there. The food is the best part, though, without a doubt. Um, so congratulations. I do want to get to you guys, though, when I can. So I feel like very often if I'm just passing through, I'll stop in and say hello. I'm debating trying to get there on July 4th. Now, I don't think Morton Grove has a meeting there, but some other Masonic lodges are doing some cool stuff. So, I mean, I can't speak to why the Orthodox view Masonry the way they do. I can't speak to why anyone views Freemasonry the way they do. I mean, I guess what I'd say is they're just wrong. And hopefully, over time, maybe through channels like mine, they reconsider why they're incorrect. Mage, Mage Fong, don't forget, if you get the chance and you're interested, you can follow me not just here, although I'm grateful if you follow me here. You can follow me on a variety of other channels, including Patreon, Medium. All that stuff helps out big time and supports the channel and my efforts to promote the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located. I have talked to people about why they left Freemasonry. I mean, there's also been a lot of um, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it now. There have been a ton of different lodges commissioning different surveys about it. Honestly, though, I'm not a huge fan of like I'm not as concerned as others are with this idea of why people leave. I don't think it's that important to Freemasonry because if people are leaving, they're leaving, like so be it. My bigger concern when it comes to Freemasonry is the people who remain active in Freemasonry who pay their dues every year but never show up in lodge. That's my bigger concern with Freemasonry. And that's, I think, what we need to talk about. And honestly, the problem is, all right, Mage, stick around just 1 second. Let me get you the links. I'll put them in the chat so you can find them before you go, Mage. I think that's the question we need to be asking people is not why are they leaving? Why are they remaining members but not showing up to lodge? That's the much bigger concern. I don't know if I'd be too happy with that, Jim Rat, but we'll see. So patreon.com/square compass, sorry. So patreon.com/square and compass, you can sign in for free. Sign up for free. medium.com/@Adamson-Cameron. And Instagram.com/square_and_compass_promotions. Check them all out. Sign up. I would really appreciate it. Ball knowledge. At least you asked the question correctly and asked what degree I am, as opposed to what level. I am a 3rd degree Master Mason, which is the highest degree in Freemasonry. I'm also 18th degree Scottish Rite. I also hold the office of Worshipful Master of Border Cities Lodge 554. Freemasonry is not a cult. Freemasonry is a civic group or a civic club. Ball knowledge? I mean, I have no, when you say opinions on Muslims, I mean, you take each individual as you find them. I've known a lot of Muslim people and they're good citizens, good brothers, good friends, good colleagues. So I don't know, it's fine. Freemasonry welcomes men of all different faiths and beliefs. I do have a lot of admiration for the Muslims I've known and their dedication to their religion. They seem very, I mean, I'm not religious myself per se, but they do demonstrate a lot of discipline around their religion, which I think is impressive and something worthy of admiration. I think dedication in general in life is worthy of admiration. I don't know what it means to be, first of all, JJ, I don't know what it means to be a Mason escape. You don't escape from Freemasonry. It's simply that you leave Freemasonry if you so choose, which is perfectly fine. I've never seen any slavery in a Masonic lodge. I would not join a Masonic lodge, or I would not join anything within Freemasonry if there were slavery. I would say slavery is the opposite of what Freemasonry stands for. 28 votes. No, 57%. Yes, 43%. No, slightly in the lead. Why is it, I've never understood the angry lobby, this term virtue signaling. What if I'm just saying what I believe? And if this is what I believe, why is it virtue signaling? That's just a silly thing to say. I don't understand it. The roots of Freemasonry, I would argue, are some of the most benign roots in history. It evolved from a stone Masonic guild in the Middle Ages, that's all. So not particularly dark roots at all. I'm not sure to what you're referring. In terms of Muslim faith and whether it will get you to heaven or not, that's a question that every person needs to decide for themselves based on what they choose to believe. Freemasonry makes no promises of salvation nor threats of damnation. We're going to keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, let me know. The first 60 minutes, we just hang out and chat. The second 60 minutes, we go into more specific talking points. Jeremy, welcome. Thank you for being here as always. I hope you're doing well. I mean, I think you have to be really careful that you don't over judge dreams. I mean, dreams can, I don't think dreams are that, you know, I don't think dreams are that relevant other than as ways for our subconscious to kind of sort through things we've seen. Um, what are some subjects Masons should study? That's a really good question. I mean, so much of that depends on what your, so much of that depends on honestly what you hope to get out of Freemasonry. Obviously, you should know your lodge bylaws and constitution of your jurisdiction, especially when you go into leadership. I think you should study and know first aid, physical and psychological first aid. I think you should know about proper food handling techniques, things of that nature. Emergency planning, if there's ever emergency in your lodge. But if you want to, let's say, become the lodge treasurer, you should study and know about finances and accounting. If you want to become a secretary, know the rules of the lodge and the bylaws. Beyond that, look, knowing more about the history of Freemasonry is never going to hurt. And a good place to go to start with that is Freemasonry for Dummies by Freemasonry for Dummies by Chris Hodap is a great place to start. BLK Warrior Spirit, Freemasonry has nothing to do with witchcraft. I've been a Freemason for 20 years. Never seen any witchcraft. So no, it's not. You can think it's witchcraft, but you would be wrong. Mopor, that's always a good advice. For you, please remember to hit the like and subscribe button. MD Myth, thank you for being here. Hope you're doing well. Biker Warrior Spirit or Bike Warrior Spirit, why do you claim that Freemasonry is just witchcraft? I assume you've just seen a bunch of baloney on social media, is my assumption. I mean, I don't know if I like the image of being a Freemason. When you say practicing its principles, so what are the principles that you would say exist within Freemasonry that I'm not practicing? Um, Thank you for the like button touching. I appreciate it. It's a weird way to say it, but all right. Thank you, Mopor. I appreciate it very much, and I'm grateful. Well, I think people in Haiti may practice. Um, I mean, I think many people in Haiti practice voodoo. I think many people around the world practice voodoo. But I mean, some Freemasons may practice voodoo in the same way some Freemasons are Christians, some Freemasons are Jewish, some Freemasons are Hindu and Sikh. Um, all societies and religions are dumb. Robert, I'm not a big fan of that. I mean, I don't know how else you can organize people if not in some type of society. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. But okay. It's just a very strange way to put it. Strange thing to say. Thumb on scale, Jeremy? I mean, thumb on the scale is a very common expression. So voodoo is not witchcraft, Freemasonry. I mean, I don't know when voodoo was even started, but Freemasonry, I believe, started before it. There's separate things. Voodoo is, to my understanding, a type of religion, or at least a type of set of practices that could be considered religious. Freemasonry is not a religion at all. I mean, I want to see that bridge opened, Moport. Believe me, I want to see that Gordie Howe bridge opened as soon as we possibly can. Um, as somebody who loves to travel, I just want another way to get to the States. So, well, sometimes brotherly love means being a dick, especially if somebody's being stupid. I'm not going to, I mean, early on in my stream, I tried to, give people a fair bit of rope or slack. I find it's not really helpful. First, it doesn't make the stream any better because they just get stupid on the channel more and more. I can just, decline them or put them in timeout or put them, just go straight to banning. But that doesn't really help either because they usually just create a new account and come back on. And it doesn't help to not be honest about how you're feeling or about how dumb people are being. So, yeah, if you say something stupid on the stream, I'm going to call you stupid. And if people don't like it, then they don't have to watch the stream. But I find there's no benefit. Early on, I tried to kind of just be patient and give people time and let people kind of say what they wanted without calling them out on it. It doesn't make the stream. It doesn't make the stream any better. It doesn't make the stream more enjoyable for anybody. You're better off to just say somebody's being stupid and leave it at that. Um, no disrespect to you, not here to change your beliefs. I mean, I do not want a giant robot Jesus taking over anything. I don't want giant robots of any sort taking over anything. No disrespect to you. I mean, I guess that's fine, BLK Warrior, but I mean, there's beliefs and then there's just opinions, right? Like, you're not expressing, so an opinion can't be wrong, a belief can be, and your beliefs are wrong. So, for example, you can be of the opinion that chocolate ice cream is better than vanilla ice cream, or vanilla ice cream is better than chocolate ice cream, or whatever it is, right? That's an opinion. There is no right or wrong answer to it. You can be of the belief that the moon is made of cheese. That's wrong. And you can't just say, well, it's my belief. I have the right to my belief. It's just you're wrong, right? The same thing is true with Freemasonry. You can have the opinion that Freemasonry is good or Freemasonry is bad, and that's so be it. But if your belief is Freemasonry is witchcraft or voodoo, then you're just wrong. Freemasonry is not witchcraft and it's not voodoo. That's just a wrong belief. All right, well, the Angry Lobby, why are you still here? I mean, whenever you're on the stream, you're just helping it grow. So why not just leave? Well, thumb on the scale, yeah, it means it comes from back in the day when if you were purchasing, let's say 5 pounds of meat at a store, you would get your meat, you would give it to the shopkeeper, he would weigh it, and if the scale came to 5 pounds, he'd charge you 5 pounds. But what the shopkeeper would do very often is put their thumb on the scale to make it weigh slightly more. That way, they would charge you for like 6 pounds of meat when in fact you only purchased 5 pounds of meat. So putting a thumb on the scale, it just means secretly or maliciously moving the scale in a direction or moving something to benefit you. Trucking scales do the same thing. Well, what do you think the roots of Freemasonry are, Ball Knowledge? Because I can tell you what the roots of Freemasonry are. My suspicion is you're going to disbelieve me, though. Um, well, we do have different beliefs. My point is, a belief, an opinion is something that cannot be right or wrong. A belief is something that can be right or wrong, right? So, um, your belief that Jesus is your Lord of Savior, it could be right, it could be wrong. There's no way to know until we get to the next world, at which point you might very well be right, might very well be wrong. We're all going to find out at some point, right? But that is a belief. what Freemasonry speaks of as religion is because there's no ultimate way to know who is correct and who is incorrect. We're going to be respectful of all religions in a civic context. Um, right? But yeah, so, but when you speak of Freemasonry, you're expressing your beliefs on Freemasonry. And I can tell you, based on all of my experience and all my research, that you're wrong. Um, we, why do Freemasons not have their own FIFA team? They should. I think that'd be awesome. Um, Well, yeah, but your examples are bullshit. The Angry Lobbity, which is fine. But again, it's like you say you like the streams, but you don't like me. It kind of defeats the purpose of being on the stream. I don't really understand what the benefit of it would be. Find a streamer that, you enjoy seeing more, I think would be the most logical thing. Um, I don't always practice temperance. That's true. I don't always practice it here in my day-to-day life. Brotherly love, though, I don't think brotherly love means just being nice to everybody without fail. I think brotherly love, in the most general sense, means being honest with people when they are being dumb. And I think, especially in the YouTube space, it makes far more sense to just be honest and direct. Because again, trying to put up with people if they're being nonsensical or dumb, it doesn't actually make the stream better for anybody, including the people watching it. Um, I didn't push them aside. I gave them the resources I could give them to try to get them help. There's not much more I can do, and I keep telling you that, and you keep ignoring it. And that's something people need to understand. Yes, there are times if somebody comes to you face to face and expresses thoughts of self-harm, sitting with them, talking to them, those are good things to do. But also recognize and understand that in a online or virtual context, it's very hard because you don't know who people are. You shouldn't be asking people to give you personal information on stream, like where they are or, their names or anything like that, because that's what leads to doxing and things like that. Um, it's more important in those circumstances to give people the resources that they need so they can find help when they can. That's also um, why I think every Masonic secretary should have a list of resources that they can give to a brother when they're struggling. Um, Whether it be 988 or 211 or 311 in some cases, or the local food bank, because there's not a ton that you can always do in every circumstance. Well, we did not start world wars. We did not start any world war. Masons fought in the world wars, sometimes on different sides of the same conflict. That was true, for example, not in the World War, but in the Civil War. Um, and so Freemasonry is not a political institution. We're not making political decisions like when to go to war versus not go to war, right? And so it's not it's not the place of Freemasons to start wars or end wars for that matter. That's political decisions. I do think the more Freemasonry that exists in the world, the less likely war is, because people will have, across nations and across cultures, a natural sense of belonging and a natural sense of brotherly love towards one another, which may lead to more trust. The more trust you have, the less likely two countries are going to be to go to war. So I do think the more Masons you have around the world, the less likely war is to be. But I mean, I don't know. There's plenty of times in history where that's been shown to not be the case. Like, the Revolutionary War had Masons on both sides of it. Some people say King George III was a Freemason. I don't know if he was or not. I've heard different things. In the 1950s, you had the Korean War. That was a boom period for Freemasonry. The Civil War had Masons on both sides. So I'm not sure, but that is a suspicion I have. No, there's no weird stuff. I know plenty of 33rd degree Masons. They're fine. Um, I mean, it depends what you're trying to be productive of the angry lobby. I mean, I'm not trying to. Early on, I tried to. Again, if somebody said something dumb, I would just ask them, like, why do you think that? What do you think could be better? And when I was a probation officer and I'm trying to work with people to get them to change behaviors or not to reoffend, it was probably better to meet people where they're at. This is a YouTube stream. If I'm lucky enough to have 30, 40, 50 people on, which has happened in the past, even 15 people right now, um, it's far more productive to weed out the dumb comments and dumb statements by calling people dumb and getting them to leave or just banning them outright, as opposed to actually engaging with them in a discussion, because that ends up ignoring the legitimate audience and the legitimate questions. Like when people say Jesus is a cult leader, I can say that's a stupid thing to say and not a helpful thing to say. And the person who says that, unless they're trolling, well, even if they are trolling, it's a dumb thing to say. And it's being dumb, right? Jesus is not a cult leader. Christianity is not a cult. It's a religious faith that is part of many people's lives. But context matters, purpose matters. I've found there's really no benefit in these streams to engaging with um, certain comments, and you can just put them in timeout or ban them immediately. But I don't think that's always the most helpful thing either. Honestly, when somebody above asked why do we sleep, I mean, I don't know biologically why we evolved to require sleep. I'm sure there's a reason. I know practically sleep is incredibly important for our health and well-being. Getting enough sleep is incredibly important for our health and well-being, and incredibly valuable. But I also, and I've actually talked about this, how getting enough sleep can absolutely help and benefit you within Freemasonry. Like, if you are not getting enough sleep, you're not going to be good at memorization. You're not going to be good at your Masonic ritual. You're going to have struggles getting to and from your Masonic lodge. I mean, all of that stuff is going to be negatively impacted if you are not getting enough sleep. So I can't say why we sleep, um, but I can say that we do need it. And if you're not getting enough sleep, you're impacting your health and your well-being in a variety of ways. I mean, fair enough, the angry lobby. I just find it's much easier to just call people dumb than engage with it. And I mean, there is exceptions to the rule where if somebody is saying something stupid, but it seems to be coming from either a genuine place, that can be different. But even then, the question is, are they repeating it over and over again? What I'll say is, in general, and this goes to anybody, if you're live streaming, it is kind of tough to figure out that balance and how best to proceed. But if somebody comes on and says Freemasonry is a cult, and I tell them it's not, and then they say it again, and they say it again, at a certain point, the most intelligent thing to do is just call them stupid and be done with it. And then to ban them or to time them out. You could just ban them and time them out automatically as well, which is another option. But that can end it altogether, where somebody with a name call, they stick around, and then it's like if you ban or get rid of somebody, what I find is that kind of ends it right there. Even if you're insulting them, if they stick around, other people will see that this guy's being stupid, and it may remind them, oh, Freemasonry is not a cult, if that makes any sense. It's tough to find the balance between just getting rid of people, banning, or timing out, versus, even if you're being mean to them, continuing the engagement as a way to send a message to other people about what Freemasonry truly is. Sun and moon, anima and animus, left and right hemispheres, Boaz and Yakin. The secret is the middle path, harmony. As a general rule, moderation is usually a very good path to take, otherwise known as the middle path, David. So I don't disagree with that. Um, I think the middle path and moderation is usually a good approach to life. However, and Freemasonry does teach us that one of the ethical considerations, the ethical teachings of Freemasonry is this idea of moderation, of the middle path. I think that's a very valid idea. Um, Name calling wars. I mean, I do agree with that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of using the term war for anything other than an actual war, just because, um, I mean, I would accept somebody calling me stupid every day and twice on Sunday versus having somebody shooting at me, obviously, right? And I think that's true for most people. They would rather have, I mean, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. So it's not a war, and whether somebody calls me stupid or I call them stupid, I will take that again over being in an actual war because I'm a wuss. But, you know, you pick your term. Isn't there a castle that Masons like to do rituals at? Oscar kills? I mean, there might be. We perform our Masonic rituals. All right, we're not going to have people talking about everybody else in the stream. Um, some religious historians claim Freemasonry's evolved Egyptology. So I'm going to start with the Oscar kills castle statement. Where we, as Freemasons, perform Masonic rituals will more often than not be in what's called our Masonic buildings. Some of them look like castles, like in Indianapolis, Indiana. Without a doubt, it looks like a castle. Detroit looks like a castle as well. There may be, in fact, some Masonic lodges, especially in United Kingdom, that do actually meet in castles. It would not shock me at all to see that be the case. But I can't think of a specific castle off the top of my head where Masons, like to perform ritual. It's just where our Masonic buildings are. Um, Now, Freemasonry did not evolve out of Egyptology. Freemasonry evolved in the 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries out of stone Masonic guilds. However, it is absolutely the case that when Freemasonry evolved and through the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, ancient Egypt was incredibly popular. It was a time when people would travel to Egypt and grave rob, if you will, the tombs and bring stuff back to the bring stuff back to museums. It was a time when the upper class were obsessed with ancient Egypt and stories about ancient Egypt. It was also, ancient Egypt was an incredibly important symbolism for stonemasonry, right? I once heard a television show where they said, and they described ancient Egypt as a stonemason's dream because there were so many stone structures there. And so it was natural that ancient Egyptian mythology and symbolism would make their way into Freemasonry, and it did. Many Masonic buildings have an Egyptian room, which is designed with Egyptian hieroglyphs and Egyptian symbols. The pyramid is an important symbol within Freemasonry. So absolutely those things happen, and those connections exist. I will not do that, Mayo. It sounds gross. So there are female Freemasons, Derek Moore. There's the Order of Women Freemasons it exists in Ontario, but it exists primarily in England. It's been around since 1908. Um, Also, there's Eastern Star, which is for men and women. And there's also so the Eastern Star, which is for men and women. There's also Rainbow, which is for young women ages 9 to 21, if I'm recalling correctly. I might get that date incorrect, or those ages incorrect. Um, they did call it Stonecutters Black Hole, and I loved it. I thought it's a great episode. It's something I really enjoy watching. Um, it's one of my favorite thing in the world is the Simpsons episode because it's funny and it's fun. Ashes, don't be making fun of D Molay. It's a wonderful youth group, a very important part of our Masonic order. So let's not be insulting any Masonic orders. How about that? There's always going to be dumb people in the chat. What can you do? The weird thing about YouTube, you never who's rubbing. Well, Burger, you just have to accept that. Um, it actually started in the States, International Order of Rainbow. I can't remember when it started. I used to have the history of it. I can't remember it now. Rusty, you are sometimes, that's for sure. Um, Paying gas. So to be a Freemason, you must first believe in a supreme being. So as a Freemason, I do believe in a supreme being, God, if you will. The nature of that God and whether it is Christian or Muslim or Jewish, that is not something I can speak to. Everybody has to decide that for themselves. Um, Thank you. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. I would truly, truly appreciate it. We are slowly growing this channel. I'm getting close to my 5,000 subs. So help a brother out. I would really appreciate it. Maybe I can get to 5,000 subs in the next couple of months. Who knows? Anything's possible. Even if you're 33rd degree. I've known Jewish 33rd degree Masons, and I've known Christian 33rd degree Masons. And I've known perhaps people like me where we're spiritual, but we don't believe in a specific kind of, we don't believe in a specific religion per se. Well, Scottish Rite, I mean, Scottish Rite is not to be Scottish is not a religion. I have never played D&D, but I used to love that show. I used to love that show, Community, and I love the D&D episodes of it. Hello, Hypnotrike, how are you? I mean, the sun is true. We see it every day. I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm grateful for the sun as well, being here every day. Makes me happy. Well, the 33rd degree Masons, right? The idea of having a higher power, again, I've known enough Masons of different faiths who are 33rd degrees who remain active in their various faiths that, the extent to which the 33rd degree, I'm 18th degree, may have its own rituals and ceremonies, it doesn't seem to interfere with the people I've known and the following of their faith and their beliefs. Black hole, I'm working on it. I do agree. I think the most important thing for anything, including building YouTube, is consistency in the time spent. I think that's an incredibly important part of being a Freemason and being a YouTuber and being anything. Exercise, whatever it might be. I mean, I'm not sure to what book you're referring. There's the Gold book, but that's a book of um, membership designation. Hello, Courtney's. Thank you for being here. Chris, I mean, there are Buddhist Freemasons to my knowledge. So you are um, certainly welcome to be a Buddhist and a Freemason. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Yes, every day, 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern. And nor should you, West Nile Tutor, nor should you. The one of the best things about having a consistent schedule is it helps people know when to find me and where to find me and how to find me, which is necessary, right? It's very hard to um, grow anything if you're not being consistent. And that's true for Freemasonry as well, right? It's very hard to grow Freemasonry if you're not being consistent. Um, we got 52 votes about Freemasonry and Iran. The no's are slightly ahead, but not as ahead as I thought they would be. So that's interesting to me. The fact that we are seeing uh, I would say a fair amount of optimism as it relates to Freemasonry returning to Iran. I don't think God is an alien. I mean, some may think God's an alien, but I don't think so. I already have partnership. Oh, you mean partner? Okay, I see what you're saying. I mean, I already am part of the program Black Hole. So if you want to support me, super chats, uh, gifts, all that stuff helps out big time. Modern warfare, let's knock on wood. I mean, I hope for every country. I think there's hope that every country can be better today than it was yesterday. That includes, by the way, Canada, that includes United States, that includes everywhere. But I do think countries that have strong civic infrastructure, and that includes Freemasonry, are going to do better, and there'll be more hope for for the future. Yeah, I am monetized, so, but I thought you were talking about getting partners through like corporate sponsorships, which I am eligible for. I've not received any requests yet. So just for the record, if you could, you know, if you want to be cool and help a brother out, like, subscribe, but also super chat. Just $2 super chat, you'll hear it right out text to speech. So I don't think God is an alien, unless in the most like literal sense, as in a intelligent being that is not human. I suppose then by definition God would be an alien of sort. Although in that case we would be the aliens, I suppose. God would be the original and we would be the aliens. Why, what is truth be told? I do not see your question anywhere. Grant Wilson. Grant, I think you're going to cause yourself a lot of headaches and a lot of problems living your life in that way, but I guess you do you. I don't see any last questions, so I'm not sure to what you're referring. We're going to give this another couple minutes, and I'm going to start talking about my main points. I want to discuss the Iran American deal, memorandum of understanding, why I think it's relevant to Freemasonry. Also, I want to discuss some really cool things happening in Windsor, how it can apply to Freemasonry, but also why Freemasons should care about these public events and how we can get involved with them. How do you become a Mason? Kevin James, you want to become a Mason? It starts by to be one, ask one. So you need to find a Masonic lodge in your area and express your interest in joining. So that's the start of the process. Now, after that, the lodge will get to know you. You will get to know the lodge. Um, you talk about why you want to join, what you hope to get from it, your belief in a supreme being. There'll be a lot of questions surrounding that and getting to know you. They'll go out for coffee, whatever it might be. But yeah, the start of the process is you speak to them about why you want to join and what you hope to get from it. But it really is as simple as just approaching the lodge and express your interest in joining. Could a man be trustworthy and honorable without a belief in a higher power? Yes. Um, couldn't Freemasonry just be as impactful and meaningful to him? Probably. I don't see why not. And he could look at joining the liberal orders of Freemasonry, which do allow for people who are avowed atheists to join. What I would say, though, is while Freemasonry could be just as meaningful as impactful to him, the argument would be his obligations and oaths will feel less meaningful and will feel less impactful because it will not speak to his conscience in the same way. I also think in some ways it's kind of a moot point because we define Supreme Being in Freemasonry as being so broad that a lot of people, even people like myself, who might be considered to be a Freemason, might be considered to be an atheist by some, would ultimately be, able to join and be part of it. I mean, sometimes I've been rude and disrespectful. So sure, we're human beings, right? Freemasonry is such that we are human beings, and because we're human beings, some people will have our good moments and our bad moments. It's just our nature. Um, I try never to be rude and disrespectful without reason behind it, but so truth, I can't see that. I mean, I'm not sure why. Like, if you believe in a human soul, then presumably everyone has it, whether you believe in a higher power or not. So if the goal of Freemasonry was simply to gather souls, then we wouldn't care if you believed in a supreme being or not. We would just want anybody. It'd probably be easier in some ways to get people to sell their soul if they did not believe in it, because you could always turn around and just they'd be willing to give up their soul because they don't believe in it anyways. They would not take it seriously. I suppose. I mean, I'm not really sure why one is connected to the other. Um, brotherly, welcome, angry angel. So the main goal of Freemasonry, um, I mean, there is no single main goal of Freemasonry, right? Every Freemason will have his or her, when you talk about women Freemasons, goal of being a Freemason. Um, I think at its core, it's to enjoy one another's company and to enjoy being around other people, right? It's kind of like, what is the goal of going out with your friends on a Friday night? Because you enjoy their company. Having said all of that, for me, the goal of Freemasonry has always been to try to make the world a better place through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. Dylan, yes. I mean, it's up to the lodge, right? Each lodge has to decide what public events it wants to hold and what public events it wants to be a part of. But yeah, many Masonic built lodges do have public events. Here in Windsor, for example, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have a coffee club, and many times friends and family and people we know from the public will join us for the coffee club. So yes, I just like Dylan, I don't know where you're from, but many websites will have many websites will have listing of local Masonic lodges and public events that they're holding. So West now that's not a bad example of what very well could be the goal of Freemasonry, to embrace brotherhood. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I suppose part of it is tradition, part of it is things change. But again, I think because the definition of supreme being is so broad, you kind of have to not want to join to not fall in under it somewhere. Um, but I don't think it's odd. I think it's just the tradition of Freemasonry. And traditions change. There may come a point where all of Freemasonry allows, men who are atheists to join. But it's not the way it is right now. And again, I understand the reason behind it, the traditional reasons, and it does make sense to me, especially because we've evolved the term enough that you really gotta, want to not join. I don't think Freemasonry has a bad reputation, Marjorie. I think on social media it can have a bad reputation, but that's social media. That doesn't apply to, people's general lives. Now, I will say, I think the better question isn't why would anyone want to be involved in a club with such a bad reputation? I think the better question has to be why would anyone um, why would anyone want to be involved in a club that's not relevant to their lives? Right? I've said that before. Um, One of the biggest issues that exists within Freemasonry is the fact that it's not relevant to communities, or people don't realize how relevant it is. People want to join things that are relevant to them, that matter to them in some way, shape, or form, that they feel is important in their lives. If they don't think Freemasonry is relevant in their communities, in their day to day life, they're not going to be interested in joining, which is why it's so important that we as Freemasons do our best to demonstrate to people and demonstrate to others that Freemasonry is in fact relevant in our day to day lives, how it's relevant, why it's relevant, and why it matters to people. Truth be told, I mean, your questions are fine. I don't have any issues with them. They're not trolling, they're not dumb. Um, so you can ask another question, sure. I mean, again, if I think a question is being asked either A, in a bad way or in a dumb way, or B, in a trolling way, then that's an issue. But I've not seen that from you yet. So go ahead, ask your other question. Um, and I will do my best to answer it. And please, as always, take a moment, hit the like and subscribe button. I mean, we have black Freemasons and white Freemasons and Jewish Freemasons and Muslim Freemasons, and we have Freemasons of all different races and religions and backgrounds. So sure, I don't see. Yeah, I've sat in lodge with many black Freemasons, um, so it's not an issue at all. Like genuinely, I think one of the best things about Freemasonry is that it's so open to people of different faiths, backgrounds, and beliefs. I think that's one of the strongest things about it. And I think that if more people saw that from Freemasonry and were willing to act, recognized it as being so valuable, the world would be a better place. Well, so there's also, I think when you say, Black Freemasons, you may also be referring to Prince Hall Freemasonry. So Prince Hall Freemasonry is a type of Freemasonry. It's part of the Masonic family, I should say, that was formed by a gentleman named Prince Hall, who initially in the 1700s was denied admission into a Masonic lodge because of his race. So he went through the Grand Lodge of Ireland and then the Grand Lodge of England and started his own Masonic lodge. And it grew to be a Masonic organization specifically for black men. However, even in that time and since, right, there are white Prince Hall Freemasons, there are black AF and AM Freemasons. It's really about the brotherhood, regardless of one's race. I mean, some that's true for truth be told. I would need to be better able to define a lot. Um, like, I mean, in many instances, but I don't know what the numbers would be. Like the Detroit Masonic Temple, they hold a ton of concerts celebrating musicians from around the world. But I don't think the Detroit Masonic Temple is introducing people to the music. That's the radio, that's television, that's internet. They discover the music through some other way, but then they find out their favorite artist is having a concert at the Masonic Temple and they go to the Masonic Temple for the concert. So it's not so much that it's being introduced, it's just it's a venue through which they can listen to music they've already discovered or celebrate music they've already discovered, which I think is a really cool thing. Um, I would sit next to a transgender Freemason, sure. They're welcome to join me. I mean, I don't know a ton about the Elks, but I have no issue with them. I think society is made better the more fraternal and civic institutions we have, whether that is the Elks, the Moose, the Rotary, the Knights of Columbus, or the Freemasons. I think that's all the better. I have no idea what a black, white, yellow, or green lodge would be. Um, I've never heard those terms before. I mean, again, Prince Hall, they could be. Again, I don't know enough about the Elks or the Moose for that matter to really speak on them in any great detail, other than I've never heard anything negative about them. And no different than Freemasonry, they are a valuable and important part of civic infrastructure. There is no Shriner versus Freemasons Cold War. That would be like a son going to war with his father. Every Shriner must first be a Freemason. I have visited mosques, ball knowledge. I've visited many mosques. And I mean, I'm always open to learning more about Islam. I want to learn more about a variety of different faiths. Shriner's not above anything. The highest degree in Freemasonry is the third degree. I mean, in that case, truth be told, that's one of those loaded questions I don't like because it's not a question you can answer honestly. Of course, it's possible that there's a side of Freemasonry of which I'm not aware. I mean, by definition, how can I be aware of something of which I'm not aware, right? At a certain point, what you have to do is use logic and common sense and experience and judgment. So I don't, it's possible that there exists within my apartment invisible leprechauns I've never seen. And they could just be really, really good at hiding. Um, right? It's simply I have to use my logic and my common sense and my experiences. Freemasonry is the same way. I've been a Mason for enough years and had enough experiences that I can speak confidently that there is no sinister side to it that I'm not seeing. Now, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. And I guess we'll find out when we're in the next world. But I can't live my whole life, and nobody can, on the basis of, what could be wrong or assuming that all of my experiences and all of my knowledge could be wrong. Otherwise, you'll never leave the house, right? You have to make judgments based on your experiences. Um, right? That's one of those questions that unfortunately is very often used by conspiracy theorists, where it's like, is it possible? Like, it's anything is possible. You have to make judgments, and you have to make those judgments based on a belief that you can adequately understand and observe the world around you. Um, I mean, Shriners are an excellent group, don't get me wrong, but they're not higher. It's not a higher degree than the third degree. Yes, truth be told, and that's the issue, right, with those type of questions where there's no way to answer it well. You simply again have to go by observation and common sense. Um, that's unfortunate. He's a May. It could mean one of three things. First, it could mean that the building has been sold and is no longer active, which can happen. Second, it can mean, unfortunately, the building is not being utilized to its full potential and is being utilized exclusively for Masonic Lodge meetings that happen rarely and it's relatively inactive. Or third, it could simply mean you're just passing it at a time when nothing's going on, but there is actually regular activity in it. Best way to do if you want to learn more is go to the Scottish Rite building, write them a letter, give them a call, and just ask them to call you back and see what happens. Um, Ventura was governor. I mean, I'm a professional wrestling fan, so I like Jesse Ventura. He seems like a little bit of a crazy person, but also seems very smart. So, yeah, I like him. Um, Maybe crazy and smart go together sometimes. We're going to give it a bit of time. We're going to wait to see who joins. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear them. And thank you all for being here. Thank you, Hard Tomato. Yes, also if you want to support the channel, you can do a super chat. Just 99 cents helps out big time. I'm doing well. How are you? It's not to rule out Freemasonry. I'm talking to many Masons, one being my sister-in-law's father. I mean, I'm not sure what those perks would be or could be, right? Like I've got many perks from being a Freemason, but those perks are not the type of perks that give you political power, religious like influence, power. Like you need to be really careful about how you define the perks. It could be that your sister-in-law's father was just talking up Freemasonry because he wanted his son to join. Who knows? Like one perk I get is being a Freemason makes me feel closer to my grandfather. He passed away before I was born. I never got to meet him. So that is a perk that is uniquely Masonic. However, I mean, like I've known several Freemasons who would have been homeless were it not for Masonic lodges stepping in and giving them, benevolence and assistance. And that's a really beautiful thing, genuinely. However, we need to keep in mind that, that is, you can get that type of benevolence and perk from other organizations. Freemasonry is simply one of many that will provide its members with financial assistance if they need it to keep out of, let's say, homelessness. The perks of like you will be healthier because all the evidence shows that being a Freemason or being part of a social club or social group makes you healthier. So there's that as well. Like there are many different ways that you can absolutely, as a Freemason, experience more health and more well-being, but you can also get that through being a football player. So the idea of getting out of certain things, no. I know what I think you're talking about. If I'm a Freemason and I'm committing crimes, I'm not getting out of the crimes because I'm a Freemason. Um, I will be punished as I should. If I found out a brother of mine was committing crimes, I would contact the police. Now, obviously, I'm not going to contact the police if he's jaywalking. People know what I mean, but there is that to keep in mind. Having said all of that, within Freemasonry, certainly if I'm out traveling and I find myself needing a place to stay, needing a meal, I would go to the Masonic Lodge and I would ask brethren if they can assist me. There's been times when I've been traveling and like I remember one time I was traveling to a small town and the train was delayed overnight and a Masonic brother let me stay at his house, at his place for the night. That's a benefit. Now, Freemasonry is not the exclusive way to get those perks or those benefits. Many clubs or groups will give them to you, but Freemasonry is my favorite way to get those perks and benefits because I love Freemasonry. Um, I've never got out of a parking or speeding ticket because I'm a Freemason. And I would say the police officer that does that, if he were to let Mason out off with a speeding ticket, is doing it wrong. Now, if he were to let anybody off, like if I'm going 75 in a 70 zone and he's pulling me over to give me a warning, but he's not giving anybody a ticket unless they're at over 90, then that's fine. I shouldn't get the benefit exclusively because I'm a Freemason. Um, well, it's not being bringing much attention. It's just about if you're messing up, then you messed up. Um, Gordon, I mean, Freemasonry is not for self-gain. That's not to say that it's impossible that you will not gain things from Freemasonry. Of course, you can and you should. But if you're joining it, I think that's true for anything in life. I think if you're joining something because you want to gain something from it, as opposed to you want to contribute, I think that's a mistake. I think that's honestly true about even something like a job. Like if you're joining something, like if you're joining a job exclusively for the paycheck, I understand why people will do that, but I personally think you're better off to want to join a job because you think you can contribute to that job and make the workplace better or, provide value to the employer more so than anything else. There are no dark entities, Locker. Good to see you though, nonetheless. Please hit like if you're not done so yet. Gordon, I mean, I know that expression, obviously. That started out with what, Not Just a Man Amazing campaign. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest. I think it does provide a level of self-gain, right? The idea of I'm joining to be made better. I think it's better if you think about it in terms of joining a lodge um, because we want to make our communities better, is the better way to view it. Packer fan, please hit like, please hit subscribe. There are many Christian Freemasons who would absolutely agree with everything that you're saying. Hello, Gooey. Good to see you as well. Thank you for being here. So, I do want to mention a couple of things. I did have a couple of talking points I wanted to discuss at some point. AU, thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for the star also. Um, I'm going to answer Kevin James's question first, though. Should anyone join Freemasonry in search of a spiritual truth? I mean, I would want more, like the term spiritual truth is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I don't think that Freemasonry should be viewed at in a spiritual component, except in the most general way and the most general sense. So there are people who get a um, there are people who get a spiritual sense from their favorite song or their favorite movie, or they consider sports to be a spiritual enterprise. And if you consider that to be the case, then sure, Freemasonry may give you some version of that. But if you're looking at joining Freemasonry because you want to learn about how to get into heaven or what heaven is or etc., then no. Promises of salvation, threats of damnation, eternal life, moral questions, I think those are better in the purview of religion and religious institutions, if that makes any sense. Um, no worries, Packer fan. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, and thank you for being here. I do not know what the Great Reset is. I've heard of replacement theory on YouTube. I never heard of it in Freemasonry, so no, we are not trying to peddle any political ideologies. Freemasonry is not political. I was just in South Africa, Gordon. I was in Cape Town. Really beautiful, like genuinely a beautiful country. Beautiful people. I loved the city of Cape Town. I would love to go back. I think it would be incredible, and wonderful. I've never read the Kabbalah, uh, but I've seen discussions on it on YouTube. Thank you, Nazarene, for subscribing, where people are discussing parallels between Freemasonry and Kabbalah. It doesn't shock me that there are some. Freemasons cannot crash the world economy. We don't have that kind of power. Very sorry to disappoint. So we cannot do that, nor would we want to, because to crash an economy would result in a lot of suffering for a lot of people. I've said it before, but actually, Freemasonry does a lot of good for our economies, genuinely does a lot of good for our economies and does a lot of good for the world. And crashing it would be good for neither. I've not seen any leaked footage of the lodge. I don't want to see it. It's not my place to watch it. I know what the Masonic rituals and ceremonies are. So if it's accurate, then why do I need to watch it? And if it's inaccurate, giving it more views is not helpful either. I did know that, Dylan. I really want to get him on my podcast. But yes, Steve Wozniak is a Freemason. I am aware of that. So again, Freemasons are not peddling cryptocurrency. Some Freemasons are supportive of cryptocurrency. I'm actually supportive of it. Some are not. But that's a political economic question, not a Masonic question. I do not believe in magic. I do not believe in magic literally, like Harry Houdini was a Freemason. He was a magician, but I don't believe you can, make rabbits appear out of thin air. I believe it's all illusions. I have never met any powerful people as being the result of a Mason, at least not in the sense that you're describing it, who have political, economic power, things like that. No, that's not the case. That's not what Freemasonry is about. And again, joining Freemasonry because you want to meet rich and powerful people, you are going to be very disappointed. I am definitely not the Mason's most powerful agent. Again, one of the biggest mistakes people make when they think about Freemasonry is they think about Freemasonry as it relates to this idea of power, or they think about Freemasonry within power dynamics, and that's not something I that's helpful, or that people should think about it in that way. Freemasonry has nothing to do with power dynamics or who's powerful, who's not powerful. So if that's what you're thinking about when it comes to Freemasonry, you're going to be very disappointed. I mean, everyone is responsible for guarding the West Gate, truth be told. That's not a uniquely most worshipful Grand Master thing, nor is it a master thing. Every Mason, I don't care whether you're an entered apprentice and been on for one day, or you're a worshipful master and been around for 20 years, or Grand Master. We are all responsible for guarding the West Gate. What that means is we are all responsible for making sure that when somebody is joining Freemasonry, we have done as much as we can and the best we can to ensure that they will reflect well upon the craft and be a good fit for Freemasonry. There were Freemasons in Iran, sire. There were many Freemasons in Iran up until 1979. Now, there are still Freemasons in Iran, I'm sure, press, aid workers, military. However, as an organization, Freemasonry is not allowed in Iran at the present time. But things change, so who knows? 3-9, none of that is true. I mean, I wish we were the gatekeepers of the Fountain of Youth. As somebody who is not a fan of getting older, I wish we had a Fountain of Youth. Other than just doing the smart things of exercising regularly, eating well, etc., etc. None of it is related, wonderful partridges. Illuminati is not related to the Freemasons, except the founder of the Illuminati was an ex-Mason who left because he didn't like it. Some Freemasons may be Zionists, some are not. Dylan, I hope so. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I do hope so. Iran before that, Persia is a very old culture. There's no question about that. As a country, I don't know when you would define it as starting. I mean, if you want to define modern Iran, it's 1979, right? But yeah, I mean, the culture is incredibly old and incredibly impressive and has done a lot of amazing things in the world. Um, why head east? If you want to find the answer to that question, truth be told, you got to join. But there is some metaphorical reasons for it. Again, it's all metaphor and allegory. It's not literal. Well, but he left Freemasonry, right? So, I mean, it's related. I mean, if I left Freemasonry tomorrow and started my own organization called Cameron's Most Awesome Group, you could say Cameron's Most Awesome Group is related to Freemasonry in that I used to be a Freemason, but it's not related in the sense that, Freemasonry is not has nothing to do with me choosing to leave and start my own group. Yeah, we do. The all-seeing eye. It's also sometimes wonderful partridges called the Eye of Ra. Um, I did not. I mean, it doesn't shock me, but I did not know that Masons had, or sorry, that Disney had a special message and special pins. But it wouldn't surprise me by any means. I've never heard of Club 33 at Disneyland. I mean, Walt Disney was a Freemason, so it wouldn't have shocked me, but I've never heard of it. I mean, Angry Angel, I think that whatever their original purpose was, they have been so misused and abused by people that it's very hard to see a benefit to them existing in 2026, certainly. Um, Masonry originated in the Middle Ages, the 15th and 16th and 17th centuries. It evolved from stone Masonic guilds or stone masonry. So you had basically trade unions. The purpose of these trade unions was to promote stone masonry and to train stonemasons. Over time, they began to evolve into a social club or a social group that included Freemasonry. Thank you. Why not? That is incredibly kind. Believe me, I could use a Fountain of Youth donation. Um, at least I feel like I could use it. Just give me 1 second. So some Masons are Gnostic. I mean, Gnostic isn't really a religion, it's a philosophy, right? Gnosis stands for knowledge from Greek. I mean, the extent to which Masons are Gnostic or not, I mean, I might be Gnostic in a sense, based on not like purposely, just based on what I've read about it. It seems to parallel with some of what I believe, but it's stuff I believed before I was a Freemason. Um, no, we're not like Jews. We're like us. We're like people. There are some Jewish Freemasons, some non-Jewish Freemasons. I mean, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, whatever it might be, right? There is no Freemasonry is not like Judaism. Freemasonry is like itself. It's its own thing.
At E007 number 120 United States dollars Fountain of Youth Fund donation.
Dylan, that's one thing I always choose to never say. A lot of people will tell you, I'm one of the few who keeps it a secret. You got to join Freemasonry. Some say Gnosis. That's never been my experience. So I will say I don't. There may be some lodges where it does. I've never seen any. There's two other words it stands for. Maybe Joseph Seed. You got to join to find out. Exactly. I mean, we're like people. We're like all people. I guess I said that wrong, right? We're not like any one particular group, is my point. So we're like Jews and we're like Hindus and we're like Sikhs and we're like Muslims and we're like Christians. and where like whatever else it might be. I feel like I probably said that wrong, and somebody's going to clip it and get me in trouble. Um, I've heard of adrenochrome because unfortunately I've had to deal with conspiracy theories online, but I've heard of it. There's nothing to do with Freemasonry other than conspiracy theorists. I mean, it doesn't exist at all, obviously. It's a bunch of baloney, but I wish the G stood for get money. Well, I mean, I'm not sure, Dylan, exactly what Pythagoreanism is. Like, so Pythagoras, the Greek mathematician and the Greek scientist, certainly there are connections between Freemasonry and Pythagoras, because again, Freemasonry it evolved from stonemasonry. Stonemasonry was incredibly important to geometry and geometric principles was incredibly important to Freemasonry and stonemasonry, specifically and especially the Pythagorean theorem. The ability to know how to create a right angle and create a square angle was incredibly necessary and incredibly important to our brethren, to our stone masons. If you don't know how to create a right angle, you are not going to have a lot of luck building a pyramid that stays up, and the pharaoh is going to be quite mad at you. Um, so, yeah, but Pythagoreanism, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I've never heard of that term before. I don't know if that means a type of faith or philosophy evolved from Pythagoras. Um, So, I mean, Eureka, we should approach the public. I'm here right now approaching the public. It's something I love doing, approaching the public. It's genuinely one of my favorite things to do. So, I mean, we should be approaching the public more than we are. You're absolutely correct. I think one of the biggest mistakes we have made in Freemasonry is not approaching the public as often. I mean, societies, Eureka, exist because human beings like to belong to something and like to belong to something bigger than themselves. The reason those societies will maintain secrets and private elements is because it's human nature. There's two ways to create bonds of brotherhood through shared knowledge and shared experiences. And Freemasonry and any type of secret provides both of those things. LBJ was a Freemason. Keep in mind, though, LBJ did not make it further than the first degree. He was not a master Mason. I don't consider that to be an issue, but some people would say he was not a true Mason until you get to your third degree. He stayed an entered apprentice. I mean, Freemasons, if you're a Christian, you as a Freemason will believe that God is Jesus. If you're a Hindu, you'll believe a God is, I think, Krishna. I could be getting that wrong. If you're me, you tend to believe that God is mathematics. It just depends on what you believe in general. But certainly Freemasons give a lot of respect and credit to this idea of rationality and geometry, without a doubt. Braham, okay. Eureka says nice. You know what else is nice? Hitting the like and subscribe button. So I did want to take a couple of moments to talk about a couple of things quickly. First, or just start talking about some stuff and let me know what you guys think. I live in Windsor, Ontario, greatest country in the, um, Canada's greatest country in the world. I love Windsor. It's the greatest city in the greatest country in the world. Recently, the city of Windsor announced free movies, music, and more coming to Windsor as city announces affordable activities initiative. Taking part in these activities is something we as Freemasons should consider doing. Many of these will have booths set up for community events. which we should check out. I should apply to Streamer University. It would be a good idea. Um, Windsor's parks and public spaces will host free dive-in movie experiences, roller skating nights, live musical performances, and more as part of a $500,000 initiative to provide affordable entertainment during tough economic times. Experience Windsor will bring more than 50 events, activities, and experiences to the city through the summer and fall of 2026, including a series of events on the riverfront and a neighborhood night in every ward that will feature live music, food vendors, and family entertainment, the city news said in a news release. It's all paid for with taxes charged on hotel stays in the city. So I talked yesterday or the day before about the value of Masonic travel and how traveling to Masonic events, staying in hotels for Masonic events, all of these things help and benefit our cities. Bringing people into your community and having them stay at hotels helps our communities. This is a good example of that. I can say over the last 5 years, we have probably had at least 2 to 3 to 4 to 500 Masons visit Windsor for special events and several hundred staying in hotels. All of that brought in revenue to the city that now allows us to do these things. So if you're enjoying in Windsor any of these Experience Windsor events, thank a Freemason. Mr. Mitz, I hope you enjoy listening to me. Please hit like and subscribe. We know this is going to be a challenging summer for families to afford to be able to fly or get a long road trip because of what's happened in Iran, amongst other reasons. They're going to want to stay home and stay local. We want to support that and make sure that our businesses are strong, make sure that people have more experiences here in Windsor, and so we're using the hotel tax we get from people who stay in our hotels. Details of many of the events have yet to be announced, but they include weekly movies, a Windsor Pizza Festival, free swimming, skating, curling, and golf days at city facilities. The Angels are supernatural beings. There will also be a Riverside drone show on September 6th, sponsored by Laborers International, Councilor Renato Agostino told reporters. As darkness falls across the Detroit River, hundreds of illuminated drones will take to the night sky in a breathtaking display, celebrating our country, our community, and the pride we share in calling Windsor home. The CEO of Tourism Windsor Essex told the news conference on Tuesday that festivals and events are some of the strongest drivers of visitation to the region. They account for approximately 25% of traffic to the organization's website. Gordon Orr also commended Dilkens and City Council for supporting local businesses during another uncertain tourism season. Experience Windsor is just but one more example of how City Council is reinvesting money back into our tourism infrastructure and program. A report released in May found that 9 in 10 Canadians still plan to travel, driven by a mixture of affordability, destination appeal, and desire to support Canadian businesses. At the same time, it said conditions point to cautious but positive environment for tourism in 2026. So, first of all, the fact that the revenues for Experience Windsor is coming from hotel room stays, we can in part thank Freemasonry and all the people we brought in to the city for hotel room stays. I think it's very important to point that out. Second, we as Freemasons should look at these type of experience events happening throughout our cities and support them, post about them. We want to be good citizens and good community members, and maybe even take part if we can. Get a booth, right? Go to these events, hand out candy. Who knows? Talk to the city, obviously, but there's a lot of really cool things you can do. Like, just to go through some of the events, Riverfront Rewind is happening Saturday, July 11th at Reum Park. The Big Picnic is happening July 25th at Alexander Park. The Riverfront Speakeasy is happening Saturday, August 22nd at the Sculpture Garden. The Great Canadian Riverfront is happening Sunday, September 6th at Dieppe Garden. There's going to be soccer at the Square, June 18th and June 19th at City Hall Square. There's going to be Windsor Pizza Festival, September 19th. Windsor makes the best pizza. There's going to be Wheel Nights, Fridays in July, drive-in movies throughout August at the International Aquatic and Training Center, and City Cinema Saturday. Saturdays in July and August, free family-friendly movies and popcorn every Saturday morning. And free access to swimming, skating, and curling across facilities. I truly think that these things matter, these initiatives are important, and that if we as Freemasons want to be good community members, we need to watch them, see them, take advantage of them, support them, and maybe even consider using them to promote Freemasonry sometimes. Like maybe we could sponsor some of these events. You know, pay a few $100s to purchase snacks and candy for the people watching, and brand the snacks and candy with the Masonic logo. Sorry, Modern Warfare. People will say Canada has the best, Windsor has the best pizza, because it does. So take that New York City and Italy. Even Chicago loses out to Canada, loses out to Windsor. Very sorry to disappoint anybody who may love their pizza. Go Windsor. Having said that, I think by the exact same token, if you live in if you live in New York, you should think New York has the best pizza. If you live in Chicago, you should think Chicago has the best pizza. Speaking of economic matters and conditions and why that's important to Freemasonry, Fed leaves interest rates unchanged, but signals higher rates ahead. So keep that in mind. Well, Modern Welfare, I hope you can make it back. Dylan, it does. Yeah, I mean, I think Windsor has very cool small town vibes, even though it's a town of 230,000, give or take. I would describe it as having very small town vibes. It's one of the things I love about it. So, 37 minutes ago, the U.S. released the official Iran-United States Memorandum of Understanding. You can read the 14-point text on CNN. Maybe some of these agreements will eventually lead to the return of Freemasonry in Iran. Who knows? Anything's possible. So, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war are signing this Memorandum of Understanding to declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon, which might be a sticking point, and undertake from now on not to initiate any war or any military operation against each other, and to refrain from the threat or use of force against each other, ensuring territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and other provisions in this paragraph. It's interesting that Lebanon was mentioned there 3 times. Freemasonry does exist in Lebanon. It's under the auspices of the Grand Lodge of Scotland. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. We'll see as well, Rondo. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in 60 days, extendable with mutual consent. Bradley, well, he is a stonecutter. Immediately upon the signing of this Memorandum of Understanding, the United States of America will begin the removal of its naval blockade and any disturbances or impediments against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be in proportion to pre-war traffic being restored by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. Hopefully, that will result in the reduction in costs uh, of oil, of goods, of services, of inflation, all of which matters for our Masonic lodges. No, we do not. I mean, that's a political question. Freemasons are not going to donate money to a political entity like a state. Some Masonic lodges may donate money to charities in Israel, but some will donate money to charities in the West Bank or Gaza. Um, that is true, but outside of lodge, we need to be thinking about how the state of the world affects our Masonic lodges. This deal affects the world, and therefore it affects our Masonic lodges. It affects them economically, socially. Again, there are Masons in Lebanon, for example, and Lebanon was named 3 times. Upon signing of this MOU, the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, and considering the need for removing the technical and military obstacles and demining by the Islamic Republic of Iran will be instated within 30 days. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration and maritime services in the Strait of Hormuz. Bald knowledge, I do not. I don't think there could ever be a one world order. United States of America undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed plan with at least USD 300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The mechanism for the implementation of this plan will be finalized as part of the final deal within 60 days. All required licenses, waivers, and permissions needed for the relevant financial transactions will be granted by the United States of America. The United States of America undertakes to terminate all types of sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran, including the United Nations Security Council resolutions, the Board of Governors, and the unilateral U.S. sanctions, primarily and secondarily in an agreed-upon schedule as part of the final deal. The Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America acknowledge the critical importance of sanctions termination issued above. I don't think we did that, consider yourself. The Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpiled enriched material. 2 parties also agreed to discuss the issue of enrichment and other mutually agreed matters related to nuclear needs based on a satisfactory framework being agreed upon in the final deal. Pending the final deal, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agreed to maintain the status quo. The United States of America undertakes that immediately upon the signing of this Memorandum of Understanding and until the termination of sanctions, U.S. Department of Treasury issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum, and derivatives, and all associated services. United States of America undertakes to make fully available for use the frozen or restricted funds and assets of the Islamic Republic of Iran upon the implementation of this Memorandum of Understanding. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agreed that an executive mechanism will be established to monitor the successful implementation of this Memorandum of Understanding, final deal endorsed by binding UNC resolution, subject to the beginning of the implementation of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, 11, etc., etc. There was a draft copy received by CNN on Wednesday. You cannot separate Freemasonry or the conditions of Freemasonry from the conditions of the communities in which it's located. That includes economic and political conditions. This agreement will affect the economic conditions of communities around the world, including within America, including within the Middle East, and the Masons located therein. Obviously, for Freemasons in Lebanon, the issue, and Israel, where there are Masonic lodges, and even Jordan, which sits between these 2 countries of Iran and Israel, if I recall correctly, It's a bit more sudden, it's a bit more direct. Peace protects the lodge buildings, but more importantly, the members themselves and their families. And that's what we want to see, and that's what we care about. Also, any families, any Masons serving in the military, any Masons on military bases. There are many Masonic lodges on those bases as well. It's important that we remember that, remember our brothers. But more than that, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, the resumption of oil and gas and goods and services traveling through that strait will hopefully start to see a reduction in prices, a reduction in inflation, an increase in consumer sentiment. As of a couple weeks ago, the inflation index reached 4.2%. So if we are not seeing these things grow, we are taking if we are not seeing these things returning, if we see inflation continuing at the same cost, the same level, the same height, suddenly Masons need to start making decisions about, can I afford to drive to the Masonic Lodge today? Can I afford to pay my Masonic dues? Can I afford to take part in that Masonic event? Can I afford to travel to that Masonic event? Or do I need to start saving money, including saving gas costs? I think it's something we're all thinking about. And if it is the case that communities are going to stop traveling as much and plan to spend more time taking staycations and staying home, do we as Freemasons need to start to think about and consider how we can make sure that those people who are taking staycations, we're catching them, for lack of a better term? Does that mean holding more open houses this summer to give people who are not traveling, the chance to tour our Masonic buildings and take a staycation, holding more public events, holding more celebrations? All of that stuff is incredibly important and worth thinking about. Portugal 1, Congo 1, there you go. Consider yourself. USA was built. So is it too bold of a claim? Yeah, I would say it's too bold of a claim to say that United States was built on Freemasonry. Freemasonry contributed to the building of the United States, but it contributed in relatively minor ways. It's just one thing of many that contributed to Freemasonry. I would say, though, the trend or the desire towards democracy, certainly that has Masonic parallels, I think, without question. The other thing about this memorandum of understanding we need to talk about, right, is as you start to see, okay, investments pouring into Iran, that $300 billion plus potentially not charges but fees, or pick your term, that Iran may impose on ships passing the Strait of Hormuz. As a country's economy grows, as a country has more engagement and involvement with the countries around it, including countries with Freemasonry therein, does that start to open up the possibility of Freemasonry returning to Iran? I don't know, but I think it's possible. There's some truth to that, Rondo, but self-governance is not an exclusively Masonic idea, right? I mean, ancient Greece, the Magna Carta. These ideas are not exclusive or new to Freemasonry. They are, however, a part of what Freemasonry is, without question. I'm still waiting, Locker, so I haven't got that access to it yet. So what does that say about me? Maybe I'm not good enough to get it. So I have no idea if this will hold. I have no idea if the memorandum of understanding will hold for even 60 days, which it needs to for the final treaty. But we shall see what happens. I think obviously everybody is hoping it does. I'm hoping it does, obviously. Not if for no other reason than I want I don't want anybody else to be suffering anymore. There are many. I mean, there are black people in Freemasonry, and white, and Jewish, and Hindu, and Sikh, and Muslim, and Christian, and Hindu, and Indigenous, South American, North American. I mean, I would say, and I've said this before, Gooey, the number of, like, the demographics of a Masonic lodge will almost always reflect the demographics of the community in which it's located. If you're in a community where it's, let's say, 90% white and 10% black, your lodge will be 90% white and 10% black. They usually just represent those demographics, at least in my experience. Well, hermits, as in people who don't like to go out, I mean, it would be strange to be a hermit and to be a Freemason. I don't know if you would enjoy it because, to a certain extent, Freemasonry is about being social, and hermits are opposed to that. Although, maybe if someone is living like a hermit, like they're living isolated, but they don't want to, they want to get out and meet people and enjoy themselves, Freemasonry might be a pretty decent, you know, way to try to do that, I would think. It's not the exclusive way. It's not the only way, but it is, one way, and a pretty decent way at that. Don't try to avoid anybody, Gooey. That's silly. You never know the things you can learn from people. What do you mean? There's nothing wrong with being whatever race you are. I mean, it's whatever race you are. There's nothing wrong with it. I think one of the beautiful things about Freemasonry, genuinely, is the fact that we work so hard to show the world that you can have an organization and a group of people of all different races, of all different religions, of all different creeds, of all different political beliefs, and all of them can get along and work together for the formation of something good. I think that's a really good thing. And I think that, unfortunately, very often in life nowadays, people don't realize that that is the case. I don't know those numbers. I mean, in my experience, it primarily comes down to family and proximity. This is probably true for white Masons as well, to be honest. But if you're black and you had a family that were Prince Hall Masons, you probably are going to join Prince Hall because your family did. Or if the Prince Hall Masonic Lodge is closer to you than the, AF and AM Lodge, you'll probably join it as well. I think that tends to be what it comes down to. Many numbers are powerful, but certainly 3 can be a powerful number. Um, how does 3 represent an incomplete human? I don't get that. I don't think numbers are literally powerful, but I mean, a lot of people will say 7 is the most powerful number because it's a prime number. It's the first prime number after 3. I mean, there's so many different numbers that are unique, right? Like 4, the one number to have the same number of letters in its name as the number itself. 2, the exclusively even prime number. No, please hit like and subscribe, Chunky Beef. Yes, Dylan. Hey, I love 7-Eleven. Keeps me, um, keeps me well fed many times. So I don't think anybody knows for sure if, as I was saying, the Iran peace deal will or will not hold. Nobody knows what the future will be. There's been some very interesting discussions on X/Twitter about it. Let's see what I can find here. Obviously, if you type in Iran into, a lot of people are opposed to it and don't like it. Some people do. I think for me, what I just want to see from a Masonic perspective is I want to see every one of my brothers as safe as possible. I want to see every person as safe as possible. So not fighting in wars, not at risk of being attacked by a bomb from any side. I also want to see prices come down and the economy grow. So Masons are able to again travel and take part in the world. So I guess, I don't know, that's what I want to see. Pope Leo the 14th. I welcome with satisfaction the reaching of an agreement between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America, which will be signed on Friday as an encouraging result of patient work and dialogue and negotiation. I express my gratitude to the countries that have worked to facilitate this meeting, a meeting between the parties, and to make this agreement possible. I hope that the agreement may help strengthen mutual trust, security, and stability in the Middle East, promoting paths of dialogue and cooperation amongst peoples. Fox News, according to President Trump, if I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at them, dropping bombs on their head. President Trump warns Iran that any change to the peace agreement or failure to comply could bring an immediate military response. If they don't behave, they'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head. Trump contrasted the deal with the Obama-era JCPOA, arguing the previous administration tried to bribe their way out of it. I don't see a lot of difference between this deal and the JCPOA, but all right. Don't quote me on this, but what I remember is 3 is an incomplete number. Is it incomplete human because a human is born with a soul, body, and mind? 3, and when they gain complete knowledge of the divine, they reach the 6th day. And the 7th, theirs is rest because creation is finished. Not sure, Locker. I can't speak to that at all. Locker, the black onyx ring I bought looks just like the black stone on the counter. Yeah, it does seem like not a good deal. Again, Freemasonry is not political. Good afternoon. So, because Freemasonry is not political, every Freemason will have different views on this deal. It seems to me like a deal that basically got us right back to where we were under Obama. So I'm not really sure what the point of any of it was. And I'm not sure what the point of all the extra cost and expense was. But from a Masonic perspective, I'm hoping this protects my Masonic brethren and lodges in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Israel, as well as Masonic lodges on military bases. And also I'm hoping that the resumption in traffic through the Strait of Hormuz will bring down some of these prices. As of last month, inflation was at 4.2%. And I do know some Masons who have stopped attending events if they're longer than, let's say, an hour away or thereabouts because it's too expensive for gas. It also does make me think, though, with the $300 billion being given to Iran for infrastructure redevelopment, I find in some cases civic institutions in general very often flourish when economies are growing. Does that mean you may have a return to civic institutions in Iran, not just civil? And might that include Freemasonry? Or who knows what else it could be, right? Civil is about the relationship between people and the government. Civic is people with one another. And Freemasonry is an example of a civic institution. Also, Brother Michael Moore, I don't know if you saw this earlier. I was talking about the free events, the free community events that will be happening throughout Windsor over the next couple of days, or sorry, the next couple of months, excuse me, all throughout until September. I'm hoping that we in Freemasonry, A, remember to support local events that bring communities together because Freemasonry is civic, that is about community. Also, like if, for example, they're holding a movie night in lodge or like in the community, might it be worth us as Freemasons considering how we can support the movie night? Like maybe spend a couple $100 purchasing popcorn or snacks that we hand out to people watching the movie, and we put on the popcorn packaging like courtesy of Windsor Lodge 403, courtesy of, Harmony 579. You could do that here in Windsor, you could do that in Detroit, you could do that anywhere where they're holding community celebrations. Like I was in Detroit for the Grand Prix. I wish there had been more Masonic representation there, like maybe Masons having a booth. That would have been really cool to see. Maybe next year. So John Agee, there is no role of Freemasonry in world politics, except that we are affected by world politics. So it's not that we have a role in it, it's that we are affected by it. And by the way, so are you, so is everybody, whether you're a Mason or not. But because I want to see Masonry grow, because I want to see Masonry continue, I am going to be paying attention to things like geopolitics, the cost of gas, the cost of oil, inflation, economics, politics, because those things impact Freemasonry in a variety of ways. They impact Freemasons. Like I just seen this article here now on X. Prices of gas, at least in Canada, fall on heels of Iran deal announcement. Does that mean it's going to be easier for Masons to make it to their Masonic meetings? Like we have a Masonic Lodge meeting tomorrow in Leamington. It's about 50 minutes away. Um, 50 minutes of driving with high gas prices is no joke for a lot of brethren. So, I don't express, well, I do actually. Freemasonry and a Masonic Lodge, you'll not express political opinions, but we are and we do need to be aware of things that are happening politically and how we can best deal with them. Um, Rondo, good to see you. Brother Michael Moore, good to see you. Thank you for being here. I hope that your day is going well. By the way, Brother Michael Moore, I mean to ask you, do you know, are your Masonic lodges, like, or the building itself, doing anything special for um, July 4th? Like, are you guys going to be in a parade or anything like that? Speaking of special things, we are less than a week from go for launch. On June 20th, no, sorry, June 22nd, we are going to be having the Ford fireworks. I am lucky enough to, genuinely, I am lucky enough that I have probably one of the best views ever of the Detroit fireworks. And so I'm going to be live streaming it. The fireworks are supposed to start at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to start streaming at 9:30 Eastern. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it. It's going to be a blast. I hope you guys will join me if you enjoy fireworks as much as I do, especially when we get the chance to celebrate, um, two great countries, two great cities, a province, and a state that are pretty awesome. I mean, do I say brother every time? It depends on the context. As a usual rule, if I've never met them before, then I may call them brother first and then go back to their name, just like Brother Michael Moore is saying. It just depends. If I've known them for a while, I'll just call them by their name. June 22nd. There may be fireworks happening tonight. I have no idea, but I'm doing the firework live stream on June 22nd. That's when it takes place. 9:30 Eastern, I'll start. 10 o'clock is when the fireworks start. Sorry, Rhonda, what's the interesting dynamic? Yeah, and I may be using, I'll go back and forth, right? Like I may be saying like, how's it going, brother? And then good to see you, Mike, and then back to brother. Like it's just you kind of feel it out. No worries. Thank you though for being here, Modern Welfare. I appreciate it very much. I hope you will once again hit the like and subscribe button. Well, you've already hit it before, but still, I always say that because I never know who's showing up, so I say it a lot in case somebody comes on for a minute or two and then leaves again. We would do no such thing. I'm here drinking my pop, my Coca-Cola. Honestly, my favorite type of my favorite type of pop is probably ginger beer. That's the one I love the most. But I will, as a general rule, because it's cheaper and it's my second favorite, I drink Coca-Cola all the time. So I would never support taking the cocoa out of Coca-Cola. 89 votes. Interesting. The no's are at 63%. The yes is at 37%. Honestly, that is more in favor of the like more optimistic towards this idea of Freemasonry returning to Iran than I thought it would be. So that's very interesting. I'm surprised. So one of those things when it comes to a Grand Master, I always call them most worshipful, whether they're inside the lodge or not. Any other title or honorific though, it tends to be dependent more on the circumstances. But I was taught when I joined that a Grand Master is always most worshipful all the time. Really, Andrew? I did not know that. Is that because it's carbonated? Yeah, I mean it's tough to say, Brother Michael Moore, right? Like a lot of people just play it by the situation, which I think is fine. But I do think for me, the Grandmaster always gets the honorific. Everybody else, it just depends on the circumstances. But it's interesting to think about like Masonic greetings and how they work and how we do them and how they've developed historically. So, I feel like you're being sarcastic and kind of a jerk, but I don't quite know why. I mean, you can be gay and married to whomever you so choose, I suppose. Um, where you say no passport, I mean, you do you. Welcome for being here. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Rondo, this might get me in trouble. I've never been a big fan of the Wu-Tang Clan. What can I say? It's one of those things I never got too into. Hello, Bard Marsh. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. How is your day going? I hope it's going well. Let me know, do you think Freemasonry will ever make a return to India? I mean, I'm curious about, or sorry, in Iran. There's a lot of Freemasonry in India. Forgive me. There's a lot of Freemasonry in India. It's got a great history. Iran, there was Freemasonry in Iran from the early 1700s or mid 1700s maybe through to 1979. In fact, a lot of people don't realize the Grand Lodge of Iran was formed in 1969. There were Masonic lodges in Iran before that, but they were primarily chartered through France or through England. I think some also through Germany, if I recall correctly. But the first official Iranian Grand Lodge existed in 1969, and then it was, disbanded in 1979. So they had one for 10 years, an official Grand Lodge. Before then, lodges were chartered from other groups. Um, I got a big nose. Please hit like and subscribe. Wu-Tang is forever. I mean, yes, that is a good rule of thumb. Yes, Rondo. It's called the Grand Lodge of Iran in Exile. It currently meets in, if I recall correctly, Los Angeles, California for sure. And I believe they also meet in one other state. I can't think of where it is now. Hopefully, one day they will return to Iran. But yes. So there is a link between the Masons and King Solomon. King Solomon is a very important figure within Freemasonry, apocryphal, legendary, and his temple is as well. Somewhat of the format of our buildings is based on King Solomon's temple. I say somewhat because there's a lot of other things that go into it to keep in mind. But again, it's metaphorical, not literal. But since we as Freemasons evolved from stonemasonry, it makes sense that we would look to stone structures for um, inspiration in our Masonic activities. Pyramids are a great one, but King Solomon's Temple might be the greatest example of a historical stone structure that can provide both lessons for stonemasonry and for masonry in general. Um, Freemasonry is all about building, right? Whether it be building a literal temple or whether it be building ourselves in a metaphorical or allegorical sense. I think they're fine with it, Rondo. I mean, I know they're fine with it because I know many California Freemasons who have supported it and visited it. When you say under the water, are you in a submarine? What do you mean by that? What is this under the water of which you speak? And by the way, thank you for being here. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. I mean, they can operate in exile so long as the jurisdiction in which they're existing allows them to. There's nothing that Iran could do to stop them from operating outside of Iran itself, right? Cool. They're out there, Brother Michael Moore. They're everywhere. Again, I don't get all shirty about clandestine Masons. I think it's kind of silly. So long as they admit that, they can't visit our lodge and we can't visit theirs, then I'm fine with it. Let people do their own thing. So normally they would, but in this case, I think because it's such a unique circumstance, it seems like they're fine with it. I've never heard any examples. Well, so that does sound highly questionable. I mean, it's not impossible because there are Spanish speaking lodges in California. There could very well be French speaking lodges somewhere else, but that's not the way you'd answer that question, right? When you say, what is your jurisdiction? He should be saying the Grand Lodge of Florida if he meets in Miami. To say a French speaking lodge in Miami that's a pretty big red flag, um, I would say. So a clandestine Mason, modern welfare, that means a Mason who is not part of an officially recognized lodge. If, for example, I left Freemasonry and decided to start my own group and called it Cameron's Super Awesome Masonic Organization, which I'm sure would be wonderful, it would nonetheless be clandestine because I would not be legally, pursuant to my jurisdiction, recognized and allowed to do it. It's kind of like if I opened up a shop and called myself a lawyer without going to law school. I don't have the proper qualifications or proper designations to claim to be what I'm claiming to be or to represent myself as a Freemason. Pause for, as my dad is also cheering for England, let's go England. Aleister Crowley was clandestine, right? He was not, I mean, he joined a lot of clandestine lodges. I think he somehow made it into the Grand Orient, but I mean, it's not inherently good or bad. I don't find it inherently good or bad. The problem with it, and the reason it can be bad, is because if you're a clandestine Mason, very often they will end up scamming people and telling people things about Freemasonry that aren't true because they don't have the knowledge, the backup, or the wisdom. Um, yes, Rondo, that is true. Scottish Rite lodges do exist. The first 3 degrees do exist in Louisiana. A couple other states as well. I can't think of which ones, but Louisiana is the main one. So they came first. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see those craft lodges. Like, genuinely, I think that'd be so cool. So I can assure you it's on my list. Yeah, they don't have any qualifications or authority. Do you know EMRE? I do not know that, Messi. Please hit like and subscribe. Oh, the Scottish Rite Craft Lodges? Okay. New York and Hawaii as well. We are going to be ending this stream soon. As always, I'll be back on at 1 a.m. We got some cool things happening this weekend as well, so make sure you check that out. Really, I'm not sure that's true, Dale. I mean, there might be York Rite Masons in Iran, but York Rite Masonry as an organization, I'm not sure. First of all, I don't know if you mean Preston Webb or York Rite as in Knights Templars. Um, Saddleback Lodge 672, where's that located? I'd believe it. I don't know the handful off the top of my head. The one I know of is obviously Louisiana. Um, I think I do actually remember New York, if I recall correctly. I could look into it. It'd be interesting to see. Knights Templar. I mean, if the craft lodges are not allowed to operate in Iran, I would be very surprised if the York Rite was able to. Again, that's not to say there aren't York Rite Masons there. They may be there via, aid workers or reporters or things like that. Or do you mean they're operating within the Grand Lodge of Iran in exile? I mean, to my understanding, Freemasonry in Iran is completely exiled. There may be some underground lodges. I've never heard of any. That would be very dangerous, I think. I really want to get back to California. I miss it. I loved it. Oh, in exile? Okay. Well, then that makes sense. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. I also wouldn't doubt that there's Scottish Rite Iranian Masons in exile. I'd love to learn a little bit more about it. It'd be interesting to see the history. We're going to give it a couple more minutes. Just wait to see who jumps on and says hello. Then I'll be ending this stream. I got to take care of some chores and stuff, but I'll be back on tonight and then tomorrow as well. And I'm going to be asking a lot of these questions on my social media channel. So please, please check it out. You know, I do enjoy putting on my social media channel a lot of poll questions, which I think are helpful ways to keep in touch with my audience, but also provide some information and education on important topics related to Freemasonry. So check those out, answer, leave comments. It would be much appreciated. We're going to give things a couple more minutes. Like right now, let me double check how many I got because I'm curious. What is an example of Masonic work? We got 3 answers to that. Recommended items for emergency kits. We got 3 answers for that as well. We also got Smokey the Clown in the house. Smokey, how's it going? I'm assuming it's Smokey with the hearts. Thank you for being here. Everybody check out Smokey's channel. How is your day treating you? I don't think it is ball knowledge. I mean, so Steve Jobs was not a Freemason. Steve Wozniak is actually a Freemason, but he joined Freemasonry well after he founded Apple. So, and he wasn't involved in the creation of the Apple stores either. To my knowledge, that was almost exclusively Steve Jobs' design. I think with John Ivy or Johnny Ivy as well helped with that. So I mean, I can't think of the Apple Store logo off the top of my head, but hello, Richard Snyder from Kentucky. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Please hit like and subscribe. I mean, I don't think we should worry about our image one way or the other. I think worrying about how others view you is a sure sign to drive yourself crazy. So I don't think we should be worrying about repairing our public image. I think what we need to worry about 3938 is ultimately how relevant we are to the communities in which we're located, and that's it. So at the end of the day, what matters most is how well and how relevant are we to our communities? And do they know how relevant we are? Are we taking part in special events, in celebrations? Do we have charitable efforts? Are we going to restaurants and supporting the local businesses and local economies? Not just are we doing these things, but do people know we're doing these things, right? If we want to grow Freemasonry, it's not a worry about our image. It's a worry about it's not, and we should not be worrying about our image. What we need to be thinking about and worrying about ultimately is our relevance. He was. I mean, one of my favorite movies is Steve Jobs. I've seen it a bunch of times. And actually, on a completely separate note, I think there's some really cool and really interesting ideas in that movie that could be relevant to Freemasonry, which I've talked about before. So, in an interesting side note, 95 votes, 62% no, 38% yes. Well, Steve Jobs did used to take drugs. He was famous about that. He would talk about that all the time, which I don't condone. Um, it is interesting to me that Wozniak became a Freemason. Apparently, Wozniak became a Freemason um, because um, his father-in-law was a Freemason, and he wanted to get closer to him. So there's a lot of different reasons why people join. That's a good reason. But I don't think he remained active in it at all. I still want to get him on the podcast. You could argue that in some ways, his version of engineering represents the new type of stonemasonry, right? 500 years ago, the true demonstration of the skill of a stonemason was how big and ornate they could create their buildings. In 2026, and really I'd say starting in the 80s, the true test of an engineer was how small they can build things and how small they can make things. So it's interesting to think about Steve Wozniak and engineering as in some ways being the modern descendant of stone masonry. There are many French-speaking lodges in America and Spanish-speaking lodges. But when you ask somebody what their jurisdiction is, they should know not to answer with just "I'm a part of a French-speaking lodge." They should know to say Grand Lodge of Miami or Grand Lodge of Florida. Excuse me. I mean, I don't think the tech heads want to depopulate the human race. Some may not. I can say I always think it's kind of silly to talk about population in terms of too many or too few. I think there exists the exact number of people that should exist. Instead of trying to social engineer it, we should just, however many people are existing in the world, we should do our best to give them a good quality of life, good community, good friends, good people around them, good health. And Freemasonry absolutely contributes to that. So that would be my oh so humble opinion on that for whatever it's worth. I mean, never in the way you say, Ball. Like, there are a lot of things that I wish Freemasonry did differently because I want it to be around for a long time. And the fact that it's struggling, I think, is based on the choices a lot of Masons and Grand Lodges are making. But when you say a bit off, I assume you mean bit off in a sinister way, and no. I've never seen anything in Freemasonry to demonstrate anything sinister. That's awesome, Richard. Good for you. I love seeing our Masonic buildings be preserved and protected. So more power to you. It's a lot of work, I understand. I was involved in a major remodel, major retrofit of our Masonic Lodge building a few years ago. It's a great deal of work. However, our Masonic buildings are incredibly important parts of what it means to be a Freemason. I would argue they might be the most important elements of it in terms of the public facing component. Our Masonic buildings very often contribute greatly to the economic, cultural, and historical flavor and character of a town. So good for you. I think that's awesome. Maybe one day I'll get to visit it. I travel around a lot for Freemasonry, so I would love to visit it. I do not think AI is taking over. I mean, of course, modern welfare. I've been so active and involved in Freemasonry that it cannot have helped but to have a contribution to the man I am today. So, sure. Now, it's hard to know precisely how because it's like asking a fish, how does water affect you? And the fish says, what is water? I've been in the private rooms. There's nothing going on. Um, I've been a Mason for 20 years. I've traveled around the world with Freemasonry. I've been to Masonic meetings everywhere from the Philippines to Bogota to North America to South America, to England. If there was, quote unquote, something going on, sinister or wrong, I'd have seen it by now. Thank you, Modern. I try my best. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I fail, but I always give it my best. Oh, I would love to visit Northern Ireland. I've been to England a few times. I've been to Scotland a few times. Sadly, never to Northern Ireland. So believe me, it's on my list. I think it'd be so cool and so much fun to check it out. I hear it's really beautiful in Ireland altogether, north and south. So I would really enjoy being there. Oh my gosh, the benefits of traveling. I mean, well, Candace Owens is a bad person. There's so many different ways to answer that question. It kind of caught me in some ways off guard. So there's the Masonic benefits, and then there's the personal benefits to traveling, right? When you are traveling as a Freemason, you get to experience different Masonic lodges and different ways that they perform their work and perform their ritual. And that's a really incredible thing. Like, I can say every time I've traveled to a different Masonic lodge and seen their ritual, it's made me and helped me reevaluate, reconsider, and recontextualize Freemasonry. It's given me new perspectives on Freemasonry, new perspectives on the things I'm doing. It's also allowed me to see firsthand programs, events, celebrations that lodges are holding. Gives me good ideas I can then take with me to my Masonic lodge. So it gives me a new perspective. I can return to my Masonic lodge and new ideas. Obviously, you'll meet people you would not have met otherwise. You'll meet some new brothers and some new friends. You'll develop some incredible memories. But also, it just changes you as a person. It gives you new perspectives, new ideas, new understandings. It gives you experiences you can take with you anywhere. Yeah, it drove me crazy. I'm no fan of Candace Owens, I can tell you that. I don't think she was being sarcastic. I heard her say, I am one of the Masons of Turning Point, and that just using the term Freemason to describe Turning Point is so dumb. Uh, or like, it's just silly. Freemasonry is a civic institution, a civil group. Now, again, some people love Candace, some people hate her. You could argue that discussing Candace Owens could be considered having a type of political discussion because obviously she streams in the realm of politics. But you can discuss her in lodge. But out here, I can talk about her and I can say I do not like her. I don't like anyone who peddles in conspiracy theories. I think that stuff is so damaging and harmful to individuals who start to believe it. Candace Owens can believe it and remain relatively unscathed because she has millions of dollars. The typical person, you start believing this stuff, I've seen what it leads to. It was really weird phrasing. It didn't make any sense to me. It's a sign of a very deeply not well human being. But unfortunately, she has a big audience. And because she has a big audience, she can go on and say a bunch of stuff that hurts a lot of legitimate organizations, including, but not limited to, the Freemasons. So there you go. By the way, I have been posting some stuff on my personal channel. So if you get the chance, please make sure to check that out as well. We are going to give this another couple minutes, then I'll be ending this stream. But I will be back on tonight at 1 a.m. And please don't forget, in less than a week on Monday, we are going to be showing off or live streaming the fireworks. which is something I've done every year, and it's always been fun. Oh, the travel is incredible. The travel is a huge part of being a Freemason, but traveling with brothers, those can be in some ways the best type of travel because not only do you get the benefit of traveling to another lodge, but you get the benefit of the travel with the brothers. So if it's a long car ride, you can talk to them about what's happening with Freemasonry, what's happening in the lodge, ideas you've had. You can actually try to set up and think about what you want to see happen. You can talk about upcoming motions, whether you support the motion or don't support the motion, and why not. You can talk about things you've seen within Freemasonry. I mean, that stuff is incredibly important and incredibly necessary. So, this is my day job. I'm not quite making a lot of money yet, but I'm making more and more every day, Austin. So, help me out by hitting the like, subscribe, and super chat so I don't have to keep relying on my savings. Um, the phrase that are peaceful, all Freemasons are peaceful, or they're not Freemasons, they're kicked out. Or they're clandestine, like those brothers in France. That's awesome. I love Eastern Star. Eastern Star is an incredibly important part of the Masonic family. We actually have a very active Eastern Star chapter here in Essex, so they're doing a great job. But Eastern Star is absolutely an awesome, an awesome organization. That's something else I should talk about at some point is the Eastern Star more than I have. Founded in, if I recall correctly, 1850, but I could be getting that date wrong. For over 100 years, they've been a very valuable and necessary part of Freemasonry. I mean, Albert Pike, he is he's become the bane of my existence because people don't understand who he was or what he represented or what he said. But the most important thing that I always go back to is in his famous book, Morals and Dogma, which everybody likes to quote. The very first thing he starts out by saying is everyone is free to disregard anything in the book that seems untrue or unsound to them. He wasn't writing a Masonic manual or Masonic laws. He was writing his Masonic philosophies, which you can agree with or disagree with as you so choose. So, Dylan, if you're already a Mason and you want to open up a lodge in your town or community, you can do that. There is a process. However, the process is different depending on your jurisdiction. But the first thing you need to do is you need to figure out in what area or in what location your district is. So let's say I wanted to open up a new lodge here in Windsor. First, I need to recognize that Windsor is part of Essex County District. And what I then need to do is contact every Masonic lodge in Essex District and ask them for their support to open a new lodge. Then I need to go to Grand Lodge, ask them for their support, and you go from there. Yeah, but Albert Pike's opinions don't matter to me necessarily, right? So, I mean, the idea that Albert Pike was some type of ruler of Freemasonry or is some type of, he wasn't. He was a very important figure in Freemasonry, specifically in the Southern Scottish Rite Masonic jurisdiction. But that's the idea that, for example, if you join York Rite or the Shrine or the Eastern Star, that Albert Pike is relevant in a meaningful way to your Masonic journey is baloney. Um, so no, I mean, so the term Freemason, I actually don't know if it is trademarked. Now, in most jurisdictions, the square and compasses themselves, like the symbol, is trademarked. It gets complicated because how you actually enforce it is really tough and it's rarely enforced. Um, I mean, the concept of regularity just began because Freemasons needed a way to be able to interact with one another and to know with whom they could interact, right? One of the dangers, if you don't have regularity, is I can call myself a Freemason. I can have, Masons show up to my place and I can try to scam them or scam others by calling myself a Mason. Regularity ensures that at least some standards are maintained across jurisdictions. And by maintaining those standards, you create a safer and a better and a more legitimate environment for all. So that is that. I mean, it's the same way that you have the idea of regularity within the legal field and within law, because if you didn't, and anybody can call themselves a lawyer, you're going to have people getting very bad representation, and that will bring the whole of the craft into disrepute. Who is he? Well, I think you need to take seeing as believing and metaphorically speaking. How about we'll say sensing is believing? So if you can't see something, but you can feel something, then you can believe in it, is what that term means, anyways. Well, there you go. Rusty nails with the good advice. Hello, Daniel. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. Please, once again, hit that like button. We'll be ending this stream soon, but we'll be back on tonight at 1 a.m. I hope, however, that you are doing well. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? Do you want to jump in for a couple seconds? Maybe for different reasons. He's the bane of my existence because people read him, misunderstand him, and then claim he speaks for Freemasonry. And then you have to spend a bunch of times, A, explaining what he is in Freemasonry, and B, disabusing people of their misunderstanding of him. So that's annoying. Arrow Crusher, most likely the first lodge, literal speculative lodge, was located in Scotland. St. Mary's Chapel, if I recall correctly. The first speculative Masons joined in St. Mary's Chapel in 1634. So Scotland. Now, the term lodge comes from a term lod, L-O-D, which referred to a tent that workmen would set up in their work sites. Those tents, I mean, you could argue they go back to ancient Egypt, if not earlier. I mean, Scotland's known for a lot of things, but I don't know if it was never known for witchcraft. Maybe Druids or the Celtic faith? And Rondo, that's why I always tend to be very... I don't get as shirty as others about clandestine versus not. I mean, George Washington was part of a clandestine lodge, according to the United Grand Lodge of England. You have to be aware of these things, but if you take them too seriously, you're missing out on a lot of Masonic opportunity to meet some really cool brothers. Again, I can't attend their meeting if they're clandestine, but I can still talk to them and learn more about them. Interesting enough, though, on an exciting note, I think it's Arkansas. I'm trying to remember the state. There are 3 states left that do not recognize Prince Hall Masonry, but Arkansas, if I'm getting that one right, I believe I am, just announced that it has set terms to officially recognize Prince Hall, which I think is really awesome to see. I think nothing about Moloch. I don't know who Moloch is. He sounds like some type of being that would fight Godzilla, like Mothra. What I do think is people should hit like and subscribe. Well, I mean, again, this term clandestine masonry gets complicated, right? But on the most general sense, a lot of people like the idea of calling themselves a Freemason and wanting to organize a group, but they want to be in leadership immediately. They want to be in power immediately. They want to be running the show. So instead of joining a Masonic lodge and working their way up in the ranks, they just create their own Masonic lodge and claim that they know the true Freemasonry secrets or anything like that. So, um, well, I think Moloch is like Bohemian Grove has nothing to do with Freemasonry, right? I thought that was Baal or something at Bohemian Grove. I don't know. Nothing to do with Freemasonry. So, I mean, that's always been the case, right? Like, why do fake lawyers exist when you could just go to law school? Because it's easier to be a fake lawyer until you get caught. Then you're in for some troubles. Well, again, I mean, that is the main reason why it existed. But I mean, sometimes political situations create a clandestine lodge. So, for example, George Washington ended up as a member of a clandestine lodge, right? Because England stopped recognizing him during the Revolutionary War. Now they're back to being recognized. So sometimes, like clandestine, you have to be careful that you don't put too much moral impetus on the term. It can be that you're clandestine because you wanted to be a Freemason and be the head honcho without taking the time to do any work and put any effort into it, or you wanted to just create an order from which you could scam people and collect their money, all of which is impure. It could be that political situations changed and suddenly you became clandestine. I mean, in World War II, United Grand Lodge of England stopped recognizing any lodges in Germany. Didn't stop Hitler from banning German Freemasonry as well. So there's I mean, the term clandestine ultimately it just means not recognized. Another term that you can use is irregular. Um, Ball. I mean, I don't. I'm going to go with what seems to me the most obvious answer is he was killed by I can't think of his name now, but the standardized theory that's provided. Um, Daniel, you get used to that. If you're going to be on YouTube, you better get used to that because believe me, that happens. Because I like talking to people. I'm going to be ending the stream shortly. Maybe I'll get another super chat while I'm still on here. Who knows? Anything's possible. Hit like, hit subscribe, super chat, comment, etc., etc. I would be much obliged. Well, and that's true. I mean, there's a lot less of that nowadays, Rondo, but it's absolutely the case that throughout history, your Masonic lodge might be recognized in France, but not recognized in England, or vice versa. Or your Masonic lodge might be recognized by, I don't know, one state, but not the other state. That can happen. Um, Was he? I mean, many boat captains have been Freemasons over the years. In fact, there's a few different lodges designed specifically for naval explorers. So I think that's kind of cool. All right, guys, we are going to end this stream. I will be back on tonight at 1 a.m. Follow me along. Check out my social media posts. Super chat, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all soon. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day.